Let me tell you my fantasy.
The Fantasy Frauds.
With the first pick.
Man, I knew I should have picked that guy.
24/7 Miami.
Hello? You play to win the game.
Come on, throw it. Throw it. Throw it.
Yeah! The Fantasy Frauds. We're covering everything from your sleepers to your busts, making sure you get to that championship.
This is bullshit.
Honey.
Babe, can't you see I'm busy?
Here's your host, Alson Baco, ready to get you started on 24/7 Miami.
Yeah, week 3 is upon us, guys. Week 2 just finished. I gotta say, when it comes to fantasy, every single week is so important because you only got 14 weeks. So we're already 2 weeks down. The quarter point of the season is coming up. And what can I tell you guys? But the theme for fantasy this year has been injuries. It is incredible the amount of injuries. And it seems like every year there's always a lot of injuries. But this year, just the injuries are really, really tiresome already. I mean, you're talking about major players getting hurt, your season just, falling apart in front of you. I know it's only week 2 and you can't freak out right away, but truth be told, when major players like this get injured, I mean, it's really bad. Aside from the injuries, there's been some players that have really been doing great. Some players who really you didn't expect much from this year, but they're coming out. And so I want to get started right now and start off with the injuries. I got a list of injuries here, guys. And I mean, it's surprising the people you hear in here. I want to say that it is going to be a tough season for the Dallas Cowboys. They lose Tony Romo with a clavicle fracture, and that is just so disappointing after losing Dez Bryant last week and now losing Tony Romo. I mean, what is Dallas going to do? For those of you who have Tony Romo as your starting quarterback, I hope you were able to pick up someone like a Carson Palmer or maybe a good backup for you, because he's going to need to be in there for you now for the next 8 weeks or so. It is really tough. Aside from Tony Romo getting hurt, we have another major quarterback getting hurt. Drew Brees, probably third or fourth quarterback taken off the board during draft day. He's hurt now with a rotator cuff. I mean, it's just a sprain they're saying right now, but still, you're looking at Drew Brees maybe being out 2 to 4 weeks. Really, really a tough blow there. And Jay Cutler also leaving the game. Another injured quarterback there. It is just unbelievable the amount of injuries right now. Aside from the quarterbacks, you had Eddie Lacy play the first quarter and then come out. Didn't do much. They're calling it a hamstring. An ankle. And you just don't know what's going to happen there. Starks is going to be there. Starks is a great backup. If you were able to pick him up as a handcuff, if you got Eddie Lacy, good job by you. If not, if he's in the waiver wire, try and see if you could find him out there. That's one of my waiver wire picks this week. Green Bay, very potent offense, and you know that they're going to continue to run. So if Eddie Lacy's not there, Starks did a great job this past week against the Seattle Seahawks defense, who is normally very strong, but that Starks is going to be used. But Eddie Lacy getting hurt, he's probably going to play this week, but that they're going to be very timid in how they use Eddie Lacy. They don't want him to get injured even further. On top of Eddie Lacy, you got Lamar Miller getting hurt from Miami. You also got Carlos Hyde getting hurt. Now, reports from San Francisco say that he's all right. It's not that big a deal. Nonetheless, he's the only running back there, aside from Jared Hayne, who is a rugby player. You don't know how Jared Hayne is going to carry the load there. Reggie Bush already hurt for San Francisco. So that Carlos Hyde needs to get better and get better very soon. Tevin Coleman for the Atlanta Falcons gets hurt as well. He was having himself a good week 1. Started off well week 2. He gets hurt. You got to look for those backups there in Atlanta to help you out. Denard Robinson for Jacksonville gets hurt. I mean, just like the running backs in that Jacksonville-Miami game, everybody was getting hurt there. Cotchery gets hurt for the Carolina Panthers. As if Carolina didn't have any problems already. No Kelvin Benjamin. Now Cotchery is out. Who do they got to rely on now? Ted Ginn Jr. It is just disappointing what's going on over there in Carolina. And to be honest with you, surprising that Cam Newton is able to really revive himself with the amount of injuries he has. I mean, it is a good looking Cam Newton out there. If he's in the waiver wire, maybe somebody you may be interested in picking up, especially with all these quarterback injuries. And also gets hurt, tight end for the Miami Dolphins. If you guys remember week 1, he got carted off the field. Now Jordan Cameron gets hurt. Who do they have at tight end for Miami? It is just rough. The injuries week 2 and week 1 really taking a toll on fantasy players. You know, it's great when you pick your fantasy and then all of a sudden these people that you're picking in the first round, in the second round, in the third round, you know, they're getting injured. What do? You know, a lot of your backups aren't really ready for your fantasy team, but now you have to depend on them, you know, and that's tough to do, especially beginning of the season. Now, a major injury that this week came out that's tough to take in is Dez Bryant. I know he got hurt week 1. They were suggesting maybe 4 to 6 weeks. Now you're hearing 8 to 10 weeks. What do you do with Dez Bryant? 8 to 10 weeks in your bench. Do you drop him? I suggested last week maybe he'd be good trade bait for somebody willing to about 5. But now you're talking 8 to 10 weeks. He could come back and help you out for that playoff run, but is anybody really interested in trading for Dez Bryant and having to let go of a starter in your team to have him there only in week 2 or week 3? I mean, it's hard to stash him in your bench. He could come back earlier, but nonetheless, Tony Romo's going to be out. You know, what's going to happen there with that Dallas? It's very, very, very tough in that situation for Dallas. One thing that I do want to say, and I am so happy that this guy's coming back, is Le'Veon Bell for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What? I mean, I'm excited because I have Le'Veon Bell. I just want to get that out of the way really quickly. And I drafted DeAngelo Williams for these 2 weeks. I want to say that I was not very, very excited about DeAngelo Williams. I had drafted other starting running backs, but huge mistake week 2. I sat him down simply because San Francisco's defense was able to stop Adrian Peterson, but against DeAngelo Williams, they give up 3 touchdowns. Really bad on my part by not starting him, but I wasn't high on him for these 2 weeks. But seeing him and the way he's been running, it looks like he's going to continue to be part of that offense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So if you did grab him, keep him there. He's a good handcuff. I know, though, that Le'Veon Bell is going to be the workhorse there, and he is going to feast. Just seeing what DeAngelo Williams did, Le'Veon Bell must be excited about that offensive line and the holes that they're opening, and he's just going to be a monster. So kudos to all of you that got Le'Veon Bell. He's going to produce for you now starting week 3. I also want to say that I am surprised at Larry Fitzgerald. He had himself a coming out party this week. 2 touchdowns, over 100 yards. It just seems like Carson Palmer has really revived what Larry Fitzgerald last year didn't do much. This year really was not in the radar. Tough to say. 3-4 years ago, he was about the number 1 wide receiver, and now he's just Carson Palmer just revived him. And it's great to see him back. If he's out there in your waiver wires, it's definitely somebody you're going to want to target. But yeah, that's great to see Larry Fitzgerald as well. And on top of that, Julio Jones, I mean, everybody knew Julio Jones was going to be great. But really? Was he going to be this great? I mean, he is uncoverable. That guy just catches touchdowns, and he is all over the field. Matt Ryan loving Julio Jones this year. Julio Jones looking great. I think number one wide receiver and possibly the number one wide receiver for next year's draft. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but nonetheless, he is a stud out there right now. But going back to those wide receivers that we all thought were number one, where is Megatron? Sure, he got a touchdown this week, but he is not being used like the Megatron we are used to seeing, guys. Let's be honest. What is going on there? I know Eric Ebron, their tight end, is getting a lot more looks right now, but how do you not focus your game plan on Megatron? It is tough to see a number two wide receiver probably taken off the board in the draft, and he's just not producing the numbers that we expected. So it's hard to have him out there. You got to put him out there regardless, but tough to see that really he is not getting it done like we all expected Megatron to produce. But also another guy that did come out is Vincent Jackson. I think that Tampa Bay now is seeing that, well, aside from the fact that Mike Evans was out week one, he played week two, but he didn't do anything because Vincent Jackson was the one there making all the noise for Tampa Bay. So I really want to suggest that Tampa Bay has really taken a better liking to Vincent Jackson. And not only that, but Jameis Winston has definitely seen that Vincent Jackson, very big target, especially in the red zone. You know he likes those big targets. His tight end, Seferian Jenkins, also going touchdown happy this week. So you know that Vincent Jackson is going to continue to produce those numbers. So it's good to see that he's coming out as well. But one of the most surprising things this weekend, or maybe Monday night, is Andrew Luck. So far, after 2 weeks, it looks like Andrew Luck is not the Andrew Luck from last year. Now, I know it's only week 2. And like I said earlier, you cannot jump the gun very quickly on these players. But when you see Andrew Luck giving up interceptions and struggling like he is for these past 2 weeks, it's really tough to consider him. If you have somebody on your bench, say like a Carson Palmer, you really want to think about what you're going to do here. Now, Andrew Luck has a pretty good matchup coming up this week against the Tennessee Titans. But nonetheless, it's still a divisional game. And on top of that, Tennessee has Dick LeBeau for their defensive coordinator, who you know has a lot of blitz packages. And it just looks like Luck is not good with the blitz packages. And you think about what they have around him now. They have Frank Gore with a great running game, and he played outstanding last night as well. And you have Andre Johnson right now and T.Y. Hilton, and Andrew Luck just cannot get the ball out. And I do want to say it's partially because of his offensive line. But if you know your offensive line is not holding up, you need to call those plays that are going to be quick slants to T.Y. Hilton. That's going to help you get that ball out there. But just interceptions and fumbles, and it's hard to play Andrew Luck right now. So, you know, but besides that, week 2, the injuries, just very concerning this week. You know, week 3 is coming upon us now. You want to start looking for some people in the waiver wires. And I'm going to give you some people in the waiver wire that you're going to be wanting to target. A lot is going to be centered around quarterbacks because, of course, a lot of starting running quarterbacks got hurt. But there are a couple running backs and a couple wide receivers you may be considering out there. Hard in week 2, because after week 1, that's when the waiver wire really gets a lot of activity and a lot of people get taken out. But there are some people that get dropped who may have produced week 2 and still may be out there. So I'm going to give you who those tips are right now. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked. Fantasy Frauds here. Your week 3 waiver wire picks coming up. And 24/7 Miami has got you covered with your fantasy. Keep it locked right here, guys. We'll be right back.
What's up, folks? You're listening to the Fantasy Frauds with Al Simbaco here on 24/7 Miami Radio. Yeah, folks, that's what we have here on Tuesdays. We have Al Simbaco we have going on. We have the sports, the OT with the Fantasy Fraud Doctors. But that's another type of show. But this show right here, Al breaks down the numbers. He tells us what's going on. And so, yeah, folks, as I stepped away for a minute there. So this 24/7 Miami Radio you're listening to, we have not only sports also, we have also the female perspective on Saturdays at 9 o'clock. You can listen to Kathy Bonder, Eileen Dillon, and Kathy Whitmire, and Barbie Bonder, sorry. And you can listen to them here on 24/7 Miami Radio on Saturdays. They break down different perspectives on what's going on for, how you can handle things in life, because sometimes things can get very difficult. Like last week, they had another show, a few weeks ago, they had a show on divorce. They had another show on parenting. They had another show on addictions on the internet. So yeah, we have those shows going on here on 24/7 Miami. Also, Rink Rash Radio. On Saturdays, you can check out Rink Rash Radio, which our host, Wilma Shakespeare, she talks about roller derby here in South Florida and beyond. Last week she went over to Jacksonville for the playoffs, and we have video of that posted up on our website, so you can always check that out at our website at www.247miami.tv. Now we're going to be coming back soon here with our host Al Simbaco. He stepped off for a second there for you folks on YouTube. For your radio folks, you may be catching the show a new episode at 9 o'clock on Tuesdays, but you can also catch a rebroadcast throughout the week here on 24/7 Miami Radio. So we're going to be coming right back soon to our show, The Fantasy Frauds. So let me just say one thing, just so you know, we also have new shows all coming around the corner. We have Cannon Fire coming up. These are the guests that used to be on the Capes and co-hosts, Adrian and James, now have their own show, and they're going to be hitting the comic book stores and different locations doing a live remote. So that's going to be coming up here on 24/7 Miami Radio very, very soon. So now let's get back to the man of the hour, man himself, Al Simbaco, here on 24/7 Miami Radio.
All right, fantasy players, week 2's gone. Lots of injuries there. Lots of waiver wire opportunities now for week 3. We got to keep this going, guys. You cannot just give up after week 2. Listen, I'm 0-2 in some leagues. I mean, my players just haven't panned out yet. But nonetheless, guys, you got to stick it through. You got to make sure that those players are eventually, you got to know that eventually those players are going to pick up. And you got to make great coaching decisions. It is important that when you are setting up your lineup each week, you're looking at those matchups. You're seeing what they did the week before. You're seeing who they're going to be facing this next week. I mean, if you're a wide receiver, you're not sure who to put, you got to see who's facing them this week at cornerback. Tough matchups this week, guys, with some good players. And we're going to go through that in our following segment with our Stardom Sit-em. But right now, I do want to get to the waiver wire out there. Hopefully, some of these players are out there. For the most part, I've looked at a lot of fantasy sites, and a lot of these players are out there. But let's start off with quarterback, guys, because that's probably the most important position right now. And there's been a lot of injuries. There was 3 or 4 quarterbacks injured this week, which I can guarantee most of them may have been starters on your team. So what do you do with Tony Romo, guys? Tony Romo is going to be out 2-3 weeks. But there are quarterbacks out there. So one guy probably out there if he wasn't picked up, and a lot of people are going to be looking at him right now, Tyrod Taylor for the Buffalo Bills. Let me tell you, this guy is on fire. Sure, he threw 3 interceptions, but it didn't matter in fantasy numbers because he also threw 3 touchdowns, and he had over 400 yards passing, which is just incredible to see. On top of that, he is a mobile quarterback, so he is running that ball as well. You know that Tyrod Taylor is going to continue to produce these types of numbers. Had over 30 points in some fantasy formats. incredible quarterback, guys, out there. They're going to continue to use him. Don't be afraid to stick him out there. He is a great play, guys. Go out there. If he's in the waiver wires and you're hurting for quarterbacks, go ahead and pick him up. I think he's going to be helping you out. Even if it's for a short time, 2-3 weeks, you're going to be happy that you have him. David Carr, also, he's starting to get his movement in the Oakland offense. You're seeing Michael Crabtree is starting to produce numbers out there. Amari Cooper, and there's nothing bad I can say about him. He's a rookie. That's about the only thing you could say that's bad about him. But he's got a 6'7" frame. He's fast. He's quick. Had a 68-yard touchdown this week. He is a great player, guys. And David Carr has a running game as well with Latavius Murray. So you know that he's going to have the opportunities to pass that ball. So David Carr, if he's out there, another good guy you could pick up to help you there in the quarterback situation. In that same game, I've never been fond of this quarterback, guys. I cannot stand him. If you follow my show, you know that all I do is talk trash about him. But Joe Flacco, guys, he's out there. He's available for you. He is a good replacement, averaging anywhere between 18 to 22 points a game. He can throw touchdowns to Steve Smith. Sure, he doesn't have that much of a wide receiver core, but he still has the opportunity to throw the ball down the field, as well as a lot of West Coast offense there to be throwing those slants. I like Joe Flacco to help you out. Maybe not a long-term quarterback, but if you are desperate for somebody, why not use Joe Flacco? He could help you out there. And impressive to see, but Blake Bortles, not much of a big fantasy name, but he's definitely getting the job done out there. He goes out there against a Miami Dolphins defense. It's pretty good, guys, and he wins that game. And he is another serviceable quarterback out there for those injured quarterbacks. And then last night, if you guys saw that Monday night game, Ryan Fitzpatrick, yes, he's in the Jets. Yes, I know the Jets can be a mess sometimes, but he's got Brandon Marshall, guys. And I know that that Jets offense just isn't some offense that you can depend on all the time, but he can make it happen, guys. He had a great game last night against a Colts, put up 20 points on them, and it was all him, guys. It was all him. I think he is definitely a serviceable quarterback out there if you are in need of that quarterback position. So now I want to get to the running backs, guys. As I mentioned before, the running backs that got injured, you're talking Eddie Lacy, Lamar Miller, Carlos Hyde, not really injured, but definitely something to be concerned about there. Excuse me. And Tevin Colvin for Atlanta. Really tough to see that go down. So who do you pick out there? Well, if you have Carlos Hyde, guys, you know Reggie Bush now is out. He's not playing. He's hurt. Jared Hayne. You have to go out there and pick him up just in case. He's a good handcuff there for Carlos Hyde if anything happens. Jared Hayne, sure, he was a rugby player. He doesn't know the American Football League, but hey, first year in American football, and he made the team. He's a good runner. He sees the openings. He can truck people over. I think Jared Hayne is a nice handcuff to have if you have Carlos Hyde, because you don't know what's going to happen with Carlos Hyde now. Now, they're saying it's nothing major. It's nothing serious, but we've heard that plenty of times in the NFL, and then something happens. Case in point, Dez Bryant, broken foot, probably 4 to 6 weeks. All of a sudden, 10 to 12 weeks now. Very disappointing there in Dallas. As I mentioned, Eddie Lacy got hurt. He'll probably play, but he's not gonna be the workhorse for him. Reports already coming out that Eddie Lacy and JJ Starks is going to have a 50-50 running back by committee there in Green Bay. Look for Starks to get even more carries than 50-50, simply because they're going to want to conserve Eddie Lacy and make sure that he does not get further injured. I also like David Johnson. Now, here's a running back that possibly was taken last week because of his one play, 56 yards for a touchdown. This week, he had a great game too, guys. He was sharing carries with Chris Johnson, but David Johnson just looks like a better running back. Fresher legs, younger than Chris Johnson. I think he's probably going to be the number one this week. So David Johnson, if he's out there, you're going to want to go and grab him quickly. And we also heard that Tevin Coleman for Atlanta got hurt. So you're going to want to go and look for Devontae Freeman. Devontae Freeman, definitely serviceable, good running back, strong running back, and Atlanta is going to need to use that running game if they want to continue to use Julio Jones in the passing game. Because that running game, if it's not there, then Julio Jones touchdowns, they're not going to be there as much. So Devontae Freeman, going to go out there and look for him. For your wide receivers, now, very interesting that I'm actually telling you to pick this guy up because this guy has just been a disappointment for so many years. And it's always the same thing with this guy. It doesn't matter if he's in Miami, if he's in San Francisco, and now with the Carolina Panthers. But you need to go out there and grab Ted Ginn Jr. simply because Carolina doesn't have any other wide receivers. That's it. They lost Kelvin Benjamin. They just lost Cotchery. Ted Ginn's your only option right now, guys. And sure, he's fast, but he's always going to grab the ball and go down. Don't look for too much yak. And for those of you who don't know what yak is, it's yards after the catch. Don't look for too much with him. But nonetheless, PPR leagues, he's going to be serviceable. Probably going to be looked at in the red zone if Greg Olsen is covered, which is most of the time. Go out there. Look for Ted Ginn Jr., guys. He's going to probably make it happen, especially this week. And Travis Benjamin. What a surprise for Cleveland. 2 weeks, 2 gorgeous touchdowns, just looking like the number one wide receiver there in Cleveland. I'm not sure if somebody picked him up. Maybe somebody was high on him in your fantasy leagues, but in a lot of my fantasy formats, he is still available out there in the waiver wire. You're going to want to go out there. If he's available, go grab him. He's definitely going to be very serviceable for you. And it seems like Johnny Manziel really likes him. I mean, he goes deep ball with him every single week so far. I know it's only been 2 weeks, but nonetheless, both weeks, deep balls there for Travis Benjamin. I also want you to go out there and maybe grab Cole Beasley. Now, it's going to be tough in Dallas, guys. There's no Tony Romo. Obviously, we know there's no Dez Bryant. But now you're talking about your second string quarterback coming in. And he is only used to playing with second stringers. He's not very used to playing with that first team. That first team. So what's going to happen? He's going to give more value to Cole Beasley, who has been playing with him. So he knows his motions. He knows what actions he's going to take there. Cole Beasley, probably a sleeper pickup out there, guys. I think that he is a good play for you guys this week. And Greg Jennings, guys, you want to go out there? Greg Jennings had a lot of looks this past week, and I think that he's going to continue to get a lot of looks this week. Jarvis Landry doing well, but not the best wide receiver right now. More value on Greg Jennings if you're looking for a wide receiver, guys. So, like I mentioned, guys, week 2, very tough for that waiver wire. If there are people out there that you saw get dropped week 1 for someone else and he produced this week, you got to go out there and grab him if that's your main guy. But you need to be very, very precise in these picks, because after week 2, guys, week 3 and beyond, you're talking about very tough waiver wire picks. So go out there, grab those waivers that I told you. We'll be right back. When we come back here on the Fantasy Frauds, we're going to talk stardom, sit-em for week 3. Don't go away. A couple surprises, guys, but there's going to be some good picks here. So stick around, 247miami.tv and the Fantasy Frauds. I'm going to give it to you straight. I'm going to let you win that championship. We'll be right back.
Yes, folks, you're listening to 24/7 Miami Radio. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and Periscope. You can watch us on our website, www.247miami.tv. So yes, that's the Fantasy Frauds. Alison Baco. That was segment number 2 for you people out there. I know you're writing down all this stuff. That was segment 2 with the waiver pickups. So now we're going to have Stardom Siddums coming up now for the third segment, which will be in a few minutes. But now let's talk about the other shows we have here on 24/7 Miami Radio. On Thursday nights, we have Calor y Sabor with Diana Carolina, where she breaks down everything in the Spanish world, what's happening in music-wise and entertainment, and also some health tips she also passes along. Then we also have The Authority. The Authority, our resident officer McGruff, that's what we call him because he can't use his real name, Resident Officer McGruff. He breaks down different angles of what's going on in the police world and what's going on in politics. It's a very controversial show. You can always check that out here on 24/7 Miami Radio on Thursdays at 8 o'clock. Now, we have on Friday, The Fix at 6. The Fix at 6 with Marjorie Londoño, or otherwise known as La Masita Rica. Yes, she always has a different brand or take on what's happening in the world, in the Spanish entertainment world, and in music. So she has different guests every week, and she has that great segment called The Hot Seat, where the questions are very, 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 very hot. The room gets very hot in there. The questions get very spicy. You have to stick around for that segment on our show, The Fix at 6. So in a few minutes, in about a minute or so, we're going to be coming back to the Fantasy Frauds with our third segment, and with our main man, our host here, Alison Baco. So you're watching us on YouTube. He's setting up. He's getting ready. The shot's going to get ready to go. He's waiting for me to, stop talking, yammering away. And we're going to start kicking off the segment. So once again, you listen to 24/7 Miami Radio here on www.247miami.tv. Tell a friend. Tell more friends. Not only for Miami, everywhere. We're all around the world. So here we are now, back to the man of the hour, Alison Baco, and the Fantasy Frauds.
All right, guys, welcome back. This is your Stardom segment for week 3. Now, there's a couple surprises that happened week 2, guys. Aside from that, a lot of injuries. We know that already. We're having some difficulties right here, but not to worry. We're going to continue the segment. And here we go. So Stardom Siddom, guys. We're going to just start off with Stardoms right now. Next segment, I'll do Siddoms. But quarterback Stardom this week. I'm actually going to say it. Thursday night, great game. Giants versus Redskins. Eli Manning, my start of the week. Now, how can Eli Manning beat my start of the week, guys? He's been playing terrible. Well, truth be told, I think that the Giants are just tired of losing back-to-back games in the last quarter, always losing it. Eli Manning, I believe, is going to start this week strong, and he's going to finish strong. Look for Odell Beckham, who had his 150-plus yard game last week, to continue the success. Also think Ruben Randall's going to get a little bit of play here. You're going to see some Larry Donnell action as well this week. Listen, Giants taking Redskins by storm this week. Eli Manning, start of the week. Guarantee 3 touchdowns this week for Eli Manning. I also like Carson Palmer. Guys, you've heard me talk about Carson Palmer. For the past 2 weeks, he has not let anyone down. He is my backup quarterback in almost all of my fantasies, and I will be starting him in all of my fantasies. And that means I'm starting him over someone like Andrew Luck, because Andrew Luck just hasn't gotten the luck, really. And this week, he's going up against San Francisco. It hurts to pick a quarterback that's going up against my team. But truth be told, in fantasy, you can't play with your heart. In fantasy, you need to play with the numbers, with what's happening, with who's hot. And right now, Carson Palmer is on a hot streak. And Ben Roethlisberger blew up that secondary for San Francisco. Antonio Brown went wild. Wheaton went wild. I mean, everybody was just catching passes in the back. I mean, in long distance. So, hey, Carson Palmer, he's got a gun too. And he's got weapons, including Larry Fitzgerald, which I told you a couple segments ago, just had a coming out party. He's back, and he's going to continue to be hot. So Carson Palmer, great start this week. He's one of my starts. I also like someone I told you need to pick up in the waiver wire, Tyrod Taylor. He's for real, guys. He is not some fad of just a quarterback that we think is going to do good. No, he has proven for the past 2 weeks that he is not only a good quarterback, but he is a consistent quarterback. And he's going up against against the Dolphins this week. I think he's going to have a great game because the Dolphins are just right now not clicking on all cylinders on the defensive side. You have reports that Ndamukong Suh was going freelancing. He wasn't even listening to the coaching plays. And this week, a lot of the same is going to happen, guys. They need to tighten up that defense. So I say, Tyrod Taylor, go ahead and start him confidently. Now for your running backs, on the start this week, I'm going to do something different, guys, because this week there's a couple running backs that you're probably not sure who to start. So I'm going to tell you that you need to start either of these quarterbacks. First off, going to Dallas with the struggles that they're having in Dallas, the problems with the quarterback, the problems with the wide receiver. Guess where there's no problems? In the running game, guys. They still don't know if Randall or McFadden is going to be a workhorse there. They're using that running back by committee. And more than ever, guys, without a quarterback, they're going to lean on that running game. So I like you to start McFadden or Randall. Either one of those two is going to have a great game. My start of the week is actually both of them, guys, because it's going to be running back by committee there. You know they're behind the best offensive line in the NFL. They are going to get it done this week, guys. McFadden or Randall, if you have them, play them. If you have both of them, use one of them as a flex, guys. You will not be disappointed. Another running back combo that I want to say is a good start is Alfred Blue and Arian Foster. Now, a lot of reports saying Arian Foster may be back this week. He was supposed to be back last week. They held him out. There's a good chance Arian Foster will be back this week, but he's not going to be the workhorse. You know they're going to use running back by committee there. So go and start them, either one of them, guys. They're going to put up numbers for you. So I like them too. And of course, you heard me talk about it week 1. I am so thankful he is back. Le'Veon Bell, finally, week 3 has arrived. The suspension is over. The Pittsburgh Steelers showcased DeAngelo Williams, who was down and out. They ran him to the ground in Carolina, comes back to Pittsburgh, blows up in Pittsburgh. Now it's Le'Veon Bell's turn. And Le'Veon Bell was not the number 1 running back last year in fantasy, guys, for nothing. He's going to continue to put up big numbers. Start Le'Veon Bell. It doesn't matter. He's been gone 2 weeks. You know he's been working out those 2 weeks, and he's been getting ready for week 3. This is his debut, week 3, and he's going to definitely put up the numbers for you. I also like Melvin Gordon this week. Melvin Gordon going up against the Detroit Lions. He's going to have a big game, guys. He's going to have a big game. I like that very much. I like him to start, and he's going to put up numbers for you. For wide receivers, now there's a lot of wide receivers options, but on Thursday night, you know Washington is hurting because Deshaun Jackson is out, but Garcon, he caught a touchdown this past week. I think Kirk Cousins is going to continue to lean on Garcon, so I want to say Garcon is a starter for you. On top of that, Ted Ginn is one of the waiver wire pickups this week. Ted Ginn is going to put up numbers for you because, truth be told, there's nobody in Carolina that's going to help out other than Ted Ginn. So go ahead, pick him up from the waiver wire and plug him into your starting lineup. Ted Ginn is going to put up numbers for you this week. AJ Green, he's been consistent, He's been getting 1 touchdown a game. I think he's going to continue that trend this week. I like AJ Green to start. Go ahead and start him. Another guy I told you to go ahead and pick up from the waiver wire, Travis Benjamin. Start him confidently, guys, even if he doesn't get a touchdown. He has breakout potential. He can turn a 10-yard reception into a 40-yard reception. He can turn a 2-yard slant into a 70-yard touchdown. Travis Benjamin is your guy this week, guys. Put him in there confidently. If he's in the waiver wires, pick him up. And one guy who you could say he's long in the tooth, but this may be his last year, but it looks like he's going to go out strong, guys. Maybe he's in the waivers. I doubt he is. If anybody knows fantasy and they picked him up, they are doing a great job. Steve Smith Sr. He's just getting all the touches over there in Baltimore. Flacco is using him more than 15 times a game. It is incredible the amount, and he still got it, guys. He's a small wide receiver. He's older, but he's quick. He still has the ability to go out there and make it happen. So if Steve Smith is on your team, start him confidently this week. Great matchup this week. And that's the stardom that I don't go over tight ends, guys, because there's really, other than Gronkowski, and you can't even say any, oh my God, I didn't even mention this, but why is Seattle not using Jimmy Graham? What is going on over there? I mean, you traded to get Jimmy Graham, and you're not even using that guy. Seattle needs to wake up. I mean, they're 0-2. They're 0-2 for a reason, and it's not because Cam Chancellor's holding out. I'll tell you that much. It's because they don't know how to use Jimmy Graham, and Jimmy Graham is probably going to hold out soon, saying, I need to get my touches, and you're not giving me my touches. So Jimmy Graham, very disappointing. But, tight ends, guys, they're few and far between right now, guys. So, Kelsey can't depend on. Maybe Charles Clay has a good matchup this week. Buffalo going up against the Dolphins. Charles Clay, prior Dolphins tight end, maybe wants to make a statement. There's a play for you in tight end this week if you're interested in looking for tight ends. So, but stick around, guys. 247miami.tv. We'll be right back. We're going to go over the sit-em category for your week 3. And don't tune out, guys, because we're coming right back.
You're listening to the Fantasy Frauds here on 24/7 Miami Radio. We had a great segment right there about the stardoms. I guess we're going to have next time the sit-ems, right, Al? He's off camera. Yes, sir. We're going to have it. He just said it off camera. He said we're going to have the sit-ems segment coming up now. But you know what? Other shows we have here on we have It's Dirty Laundry with Angela Guevara, Diana Monroy, and Marjorie Londoño. They talk about different things going on in the world, and they're going to have a new host now. I'm being told her name is Victoria. I'll get her name in a few, but she's going to be talking about fashion. So they're going to be covering fashion on It's Dirty Laundry. They've always covered it, but now they're going to have a new correspondent assigned to cover all the South Florida. So you can listen in on that on It's Dirty Laundry on Fridays at 9 o'clock. You can check that show out here on 24/7 Miami Radio. So yeah, in a few minutes, about a minute or so, we're gonna be coming back to our main man here, Al Simbaco, breaking down the fantasy football numbers. Don't forget also on 24/7 Miami, we have on our website, we have a area there where you can watch out and check out the pictures on Instagram that people post for Wynwood and Miami, #Miami. Those pictures pop up there. They're pretty funny when you sometimes see the weird things that people are doing here in South Florida. And you can always check that out. And also we have it's like the Sexy Women of South Florida, which we have that on the website. You can check that out also. So don't forget, go to www.247miami.tv. Now, let's get back to the show with Allison Baco here on 24/7 Miami Radio. And what's the name of that show again? Fantasy Frauds.
All right, fantasy players, we are back here. This is your last segment of the Fantasy Frauds for the week. But not to worry, guys, because the Fantasy Frauds are going to come back. And look at that. I forgot my microphone. I'm so excited over here about fantasy that I totally forgot my fantasy microphone over here. You know, thank you. Thank you for my program director for being on top of me there. So we're going to go, guys, now with your with your sit-ems for week 3. The sit-ems this week, we're going to start off with the quarterbacks. And you know that the quarterbacks are very, very important in your fantasy. But this week, I'm going to tell you, regardless of the fact that he had a great weekend this past week, David Carr is going up against Cleveland. Joe Hayden is going to be up against Amari Cooper. It is going to be a tough defensive game there for the Oakland Raiders. I want to say David Carr is going to have a tough time this week, guys. So please do not start him. If you do have to start him because you have the quarterback injuries, just don't expect very strong numbers for him. He's just going to be serviceable enough to maybe grab you 12 to 15 points for the week, which is okay. Better than having no points with a quarterback that is injured. Jameis Winston, even though it looks like Jameis Winston is starting to come around, I want to say that this week he's still going to be in your bench. I don't want to start Jameis Winston this week. It's going to be a tough go around for him, just like Sam Bradford. Now, interesting to see that Sam Bradford is not doing as expected with the Philadelphia Eagles. Chip Kelly's offense is very, very good for Bradford, but it just looks like he hasn't really come around yet. You're seeing, rookie Nelson Aguilar, he's not getting the touches like he should be getting. Jordan Matthews, very, very rough go around these past 2 weeks, and this past week against Cowboys just couldn't get it done. Didn't score to the fourth quarter. I mean, something's happening in Philadelphia, and I just don't see Philadelphia continuing to be strong this week. I see Bradford having a tough game against the Jets. The Jets just played Monday night against another great quarterback in Andrew Luck and just caused all sorts of havoc for Andrew Luck. So I want to say that Bradford is going to struggle this week as well. And of course, until we know what's going to happen here, do not expect big numbers from Andrew Luck. It is just tough to see. Andrew Luck, 3 touchdowns this year, 5 turnovers. I mean, that is unheard of. Just somebody who was number 1, number 2 off draft boards as a quarterback this year. Very, very tough to have to sit him down. Now, obviously he's your number 1, guys. You're not going to want to sit him down. But as I have mentioned plenty of times in this sit-em categories, it's not about actually sitting them, but it's about not expecting much from them. And don't expect much from Andrew Luck this week as well. Going up against Tennessee, divisional game. And as I mentioned, Dick LeBeau, lots of blitz packages, and they're going to get to Andrew Luck, who has seemed to get rattled by those blitzes for the past 2 weeks, causing more turnovers and touchdowns. Hard to see. Let's wait around a little bit here on Andrew Luck until he can produce some better numbers. For your running backs, LaShawn McCoy, not a good play this week. He's going up against the Dolphins. He's got to worry. It's a divisional game. It's in Miami. They're traveling, and he's got to worry about Ndamukong Suh there on the inside. McCoy still a little hampered by that hamstring injury. So I think that he's going to have a tough go around here. Tyrod Taylor, though, he's going to have a good game. But McCoy going to have a tough one this week. Lamar Miller, also because of his injury, he will start. But the Bills defense is not a defense to be playing around with. They are strong. They are going to continue to be strong, and Lamar Miller is going to face them this week. Coming off a loss, they're going to want to win. I think they're going to be having to really lean on Tannehill more than Miller this week. So Miller, temper expectations for him. Not going to have a great game. Abdullah. The Lions running back had a great week 1, struggled week 2. I have a feeling he's going to struggle week 3 as well, going up against that Broncos defense. They are for real, guys. And Abdullah he's a strong running back. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think he has been able to figure out defenses yet. It's still early in the season. As I told one of my friends who drafted him, he's a third stringer looking like a starter. You want to be very careful starting Abdullah this week. And Forte, another tough matchup for Forte this week. Even though Forte always seems to surprise, I just feel like this week Forte is going to have a very, very tough matchup. So those are the sit-ems that I have for you this week, guys. This was a short segment. Nothing out of the ordinary. Maybe Forte, a little bit of a shocker there. But these are the guys that I want to tell you are not going to be very serviceable for you this week. Not to worry, guys. Keep it in check. All those players that you see have not produced for you, like your Megatrons, like your CJ Andersons, like your Andrew Lucks, don't panic just yet. You still have time. It's only week 2. If you're 0-2, you still have time to make up for it, but play the waiver wire, guys. Do not just sit there and expect your team to blow up this week. If there's a player in the waiver wire that's good and somebody who's on your bench hasn't really been producing, go out there and grab them, guys. That's my best advice for week 2. For week 3. After week 2, waiver wires start to get a little dicey. So you want to pick up those waivers now week 2 if you didn't pick them up week 1. All right, guys. So that's what I got for you here on the Fantasy Frauds. Week 3, good luck. Hope you guys are 2-0. If you've listened to the show, chances are that you are 2-0. But if you're not, you can tweet me at FFrauds. I will be on there on Sundays answering any questions you have for your stardom sit-ems, any questions you have on who to start in your lineup, who has the best matchups. I'm on all Sunday, guys. I may not tweet throughout the games because I'm so focused, but I'm on there before the game start. You can get my info and I will be happy to provide it, guys. If not, you can always tweet at 247 Miami. That tweet comes right back to me. I'll be able to help you out that way as well. All right, and keep it locked right here, 247miami.tv. We got you covered with news, sports, fashion, anything you guys want to talk about. We got you covered right here, guys. And thanks for listening to the Fantasy Frauds on 247 Miami. We'll be back next week. Good luck, fantasy players.